Good afternoon.
Now, Sweden has just completed its accession talks for joining of NATO, and this raises a big question between Sweden and the Turkish leader Erdogan, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Can you take us into what's going on there? Explain why there is this issue.
Yeah, so the question about NATO membership still hasn't been resolved for both Finland and Sweden. Turkey says it refuses to ratify the Swedish and Finnish applications as long as these Nordic countries don't comply with Erdogan's demands. And so now Erdogan supposedly sent a list of, I think, 73 people that he wants to see extradited from Sweden to Turkey. And these people are mostly Kurds, people from Kurdish descent who live in Sweden. And according to Erdogan, many of them have ties to the PKK, to the Kurdistan's Working Party.
But the idea of extraditing people who are secure in Sweden to Turkey, which regards them as terrorists, is, I mean, that's a very big and sinister demand, isn't it? It's extremely difficult for Sweden to accept that, surely.
It is, and Sweden can't just do that, especially when it comes to Swedish citizens. They can't and they won't just extradite these people on this list to Turkey. At the same time, Sweden is kind of dependent at this point on Turkey's vote or Turkey's permission for Sweden to join NATO.
Yeah, so Turkey, I mean, we should sort of lay this out because it is actually rather a frightening thought politically. Turkey has a vote in NATO, could prevent Sweden joining NATO, but then Sweden would have to hand over a lot of its Turkish community considered as militants. Do you think that is a sacrifice which the Swedish government is likely to be willing to make?
I don't think so, and many people hope this is not the case, but of course there are fears that Sweden will in fact kind of sacrifice its humanitarian ideals in order to join NATO. And so I think there's actually a lot of fear among the Kurdish community in Sweden, like what will happen to them? Is there a chance that they'll be extradited, or can they still cross the border? Or might they be seized and extradited once they are in a country that is, friendly with Turkey. So there is a lot of fear and uncertainty, I think.
Is there, what is the feeling among your friends, people you know, people you meet and interview in Sweden about the native Swedish community about this? I mean, are people sympathetic towards these Kurdish dissidents?
I think many people are, and I think also many people like to see Sweden as this kind of moral superpower.
Yeah.
And so we're a bit surprised or shocked, rather, if Sweden indeed, is willing to negotiate with Erdogan about minorities and about human rights and this minority in Sweden.
And we ought also to underline how important it is to Sweden to enter NATO. Russia is on your borders, and Russia is nobody's good neighbour right now.
Right.
Would you say that this is one of the most urgent things in the mind of Swedish citizens?
It is and it isn't. I think that is more so the case for Finland, that of course shares a very long border with Russia. Sweden has been neutral for over 200 years, hasn't been at war for over 200 years. So I think there is not such a fear that Russia will attack Sweden, but at the same time I think Sweden wants to be part of that alliance, and especially when Finland joins, Sweden doesn't want to stand alone.
Anne Franssen, thank you very much for joining us.